Okay, hey team. Welcome in, welcome back. Wish Thinker here. Somebody was misinterpreting how Mary K. Greer teaches, as far as I understand it. The yes-no three-card spread from her book, 21 Ways to Read a Tarot Card. So I'm going to go over how I learned it, like how I interpreted it. I could still be wrong, and you could develop your own way or reread it and interpret it another way. So I have some personal notes on the yes no, is that it's very difficult to get out of tarot. It's often more direct to try some other tool like a pendulum. Or if this is like an emotional question, you can flip a coin and whatever response you get, if you're excited for it, then that's the one you should do. And if you're like, oh man, turns out I wish I had the other one, then that's the one you should do. If it's complicated and there's yeses and nos and the entirety of it, using other tools, other reflection tools, can be helpful. I'll put one of those on at the end here. It's like kind of an expanded, it's like a weighed out pros and cons list. And then what I've done is I've tried to develop like a body signal for yes and no. So what I'll do is I'll kind of have my eyes be neutral. I'll close my eyes and then I'll I'll roll my eyes up and I'll say that this is, let's say this is a yes for what I want to do. And then I'll relax and then I'll roll my eyes down and be looking really far down. And like you should feel your eyes stretch when you do this. Like it's not just like a gentle glance up or down. Like really roll them all the way up and down if that's safe for you. And then I'll give whatever the down is for like a no, and I change it every time. And then I'll relax and I'll think about my question and I'll shift my eyes side to side, kind of like EMDR style. And then when I'm like, okay, time to ask, I'll just see which direction my eyes float. And if it goes up to the yes, then that's the yes. And if it goes down to the no, then that's a no, if that's how I set it up when I was setting it up. And then I'll do a check where I'll try and look in the opposite direction. And if it's really uncomfortable or really or really tiring and like I just feel like I can't do it or I don't want to do it, then that's my confirmation. I'll do a second confirmation where I'll flip those answers where no will be up and yes will be down, and I'll see if I get the same response, right? And then my final note is should I? Because a lot of yes nos are coming from a place of should I? Should I quit my job? Should I leave my husband? Should I try harder in my relationship? Should I do this? Should I do that? And my working with the term should and the deconditioning of whatever societal expectation and conditioning is that should is a word that is your marker to know that you should run in the opposite direction. So it's like whatever you feel like you're supposed to do, because isn't that what's right? Isn't that what you should do? You should run away from that. Now, I'm not saying be irresponsible. Obviously, there's shoulds and like oughts that are in our lives that don't have that weight of like, well, is this like, will I be in trouble if I don't do this? You've got to be an adult, you've got to have discernment, but that is my little spiel on should. So, this three-card spread is actually read three times. It's read in three rounds, and we're always focusing on the central card as our like main significator. So the first round is one based on orientation. So upright is yes and reverse is no, regardless of how you usually use that card. So if the central card is upright and it's surrounded or flanked by two upright cards, that's a strong yes. If the central card is upright and there's one upright and one reverse, then there's maybe some support, but there's maybe some pushback. And if the central card is upright, but the surrounding cards are reversed, then, the central idea is yes, but there's not really any kind of support for it. So it's kind of like a soft yes, maybe a soft no, like however you want to like phrase that. So if the central card is reverse, flanked by two reversals, that's a strong no. If the central card is reversed, meaning no, only in this part of the reading, and it's flanked by one of each, a reverse and an upright, then it's a little bit no, but like a little bit of yes. Maybe you'll learn something, maybe you'll get something out of it. And if it's a reverse central card of a no flanked by two uprights, then no, you shouldn't, but like maybe you want to, right? Or maybe it's a soft no. Maybe it's a no, but it won't be that bad, or it's not that hard of a no. So down here in the cards I pulled for our little example, my camera is like slowly falling down, so I'm losing my angles. So like this one would be a no flanked by two no's. This one would be a no flanked by two yeses. This one would be a yes flanked by a yes and a no. and this one would be a yes, flanked by a yes and a no, right? Okay. So the second round, using the same set of cards and not doing anything to them, is a suit or an elemental reading. So now you want to look at, does that central element, whatever it is, have support? And so something of the same suit or element is going to be very supportive. Something of a supportive element, cups and pentacles work together, wands and swords work together. I'm going to interchange the word suit and element here. They're going to work together, but obviously would prefer like more of their own suit. And then there's like opposition. So it's up to you if you want to consider like an opposite, like a wand against a cup, as like a harder or like even less support than a cup and a sword. Or you can just say that like cups and pentacles work together, swords and wands work together, and those two groups don't work together. So anyway, if you have a central element, let's say cups, and it's flanked by two cups, then that's a strong yes, fully support for whatever cup initiative you have. If you have a central card, let's say a cup, and it's surrounded by the same element and the supporting element, so in this case a cup and a pentacle, then that central cup signification is supported. It could have more flowing support in having the same suit, but it's got a supporting suit, like whatever his buddy is, so that's still okay. If you have the central card and it's like one supporter on one side and one detractor on the other side, it's like a mixed bag, right? Like, not everything can be smooth sailing, you know? And if you have a central card and the two flanking cards don't support it at all, whether you use like the full opposite as being like heavier, a heavier version of not being supported, or it just, as long as there's no support, there's no support, you don't need to like grade it as being super worse, you know, like, but if you have that central card and it's flanked by two cards that don't support it, then it's not supported. This is basically a no. That central card has no support, so we would say it's a no. So here in our example, we have a wand supported by a sword and a wand. So the first round of this reading, you know, will I get that job? You know, no, 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 because they're all reverse. And then if we want like more context, if you want to go deeper, then it would be that this is reverse. It doesn't matter that it's reversed. This is a wand supported by a sword and a wand. That's very supportive. So if you wanted to continue that reading, like, will I get this job? No, because they're all reverse and it's like a strong no. Well, but it's overall for the best because all of the energy here is all aligned. So it's like, it's a very supported, you know, this is a yes here. We would read this as a yes in the elemental. And if we're tying it together from the orientation round of reading these three cards, then you might tie that together as like, no, you're not going to get the job, but that's overall better for your energy, right? For your mind and for like how you use your energy. Just looking at the element, we can say that this is a sword supported on one side by major arcana, which is not the same suit, and the other side by a wand. So here this would be a soft yes. And then if you want, you can look through the major arcana for similar symbols. So you could, if you wanted, say that this is like a wand, that the hermit is holding this staff. So this is like a half supported yes, because the central theme has support here, so that makes it a little bit of a yes. And then it's up to you whether this has nothing to do with it because these are pips and this is major, or if this is supporting that yes because some of the symbol that we're looking for, some of the support we're looking for is in here. Down here we have the central card being major arcana, so you could say that no, there is no, this is a no because the major arcana has no major arcana support. And again, you could look and say, well, this is the magician, so as long as the magician's got tools, and here we have the tools of pentacle and cups. So these are working together in suit, and maybe they're supporting this. So major arcana, you have some leeway on how you want to, in my opinion, and how you want to interpret it, but like straight up, this would be a no because the major arcana does not have major arcana support. So if like the magician's trying to do some great magician work, well, it's going to be a slog and a drag because he doesn't have major arcana power here to support him. It's all everyday, you know, ho-hum, mundane pip life. And then over here we've got this wands card. So we're looking for wands and swords to support. and we have one supporting sword, and then again we have a major arcana. So is that supportive or is it not? It's up to you how you want to use the symbols in the major arcana. And then the third round is using the actual imagery, whatever deck you're using, whatever relationship you have with those cards and with the imagery, you're going to actually build a story out of it. So maybe you got like, should I work harder on my relationship? And it came out as like a soft yes. And then there was all these upright cups. And then you're actually looking at the spread, and it's like the Five of Cups. And I don't know, like it's the actual imagery looks like, oh, that looks a bit harsher than I want out of this yes, right? So this one is kind of up to you. There aren't things for me to make the PowerPoint about. So let's do a new example and combine all these and give a story. Okay, so I had a plan to go walk to the grocery store today, using like the last day of my Spotify subscription to like walk with music, and the weather is nice and the snow melted. So should I or will I go to the grocery store today? Okay, so centrally, this is our card that we care about. So in round one, we're going to look at orientation. This is upright, so that begins as a yes, and then we're supported by two uprights. So yes, you're going to be going to the grocery store today. Round two is we're going to look at element. So our central element or suit is cups. So we would like to see cups, or we would like to see pentacles, or appropriate major arcana if you interpret that way. And so in round two, this would also be a yes. Here we have whatever this is and it's supported, so that's like level 1 yes. And then we want another cup, pentacle, or some major arcana with a cup or pentacle. And so this card doesn't have any cups or pentacles in it. And so this just stays as like, yeah, it's a soft yes. We could have a full yes if this card also supported elementally or by suit or by the symbols of the suit, but it doesn't. So we have like, yep, that's a fine idea. It's not the best idea, or it's not like, I don't know, a golden idea, but it's a good idea. Like, yes, go for it. Yes, it will happen. And then finally we can do the imagery. So will I go to the grocery store today? Yeah, that seems like a great idea. And then you're going to have the resources you need, like, the meager resources you need from the meager money that you have. And you're going to go on a walk, and it's going to be a nice journey, and overall it's going to be good. So yeah, I will, after this, eat something and then go to the grocery store. So that is how you read the 3-card spread in 3 rounds. First by orientation, then by suit, and then with like just a general tarot interpretation of how it's going to go. So let me do another one. Let me get these cards we had in our examples before shuffled in. Now I quit my job at the end of September, and I haven't been working, and I don't know where my income is coming from, which is why I have such meager money to buy my meager supplies. And so should I apply for work? Should I go get a job? Should I try and hustle and make some money? So round one, we're looking at orientation, and so this is a no, and it's supported by 2 no's. So it's a hard no. Don't do that. Now we can look at suit, and whatever this is, we want the support of the suit. So we do have the support here, so that's like a yes, and then this has no support, right? So like, yeah, you could, but it's not a full support. As well, it's up to you if you want to take like reading 1, reading 2, reading 3, and then blend them, or if you're reading them sequentially, right? Like if it's a yes or no and you got a no, why would you keep reading unless you wanted context on why it's a no? So you like the way you could turn that around is that instead of this being a soft yes, you could say that this is a soft support for that earlier no. I hope that's making sense. And then finally I can look at the imagery. So should I apply for work? No, because that is thinking that like you've got to like grow up and not be a child of the divine, which is the space I'm in like just at this moment. And I know that's not a permanent space. And you got to walk away from this idea, from this fraught idea that puts you into a mental, like a bad mental state. And you're here to walk your own path. So, like, why would you follow the path that's already out there, right? So overall, no, I will not be looking for work today, and I will be going to the grocery store and trying to get $22 of groceries for $2. Wish me luck. And I hope that helps explain the three card spread interpreted in 3 rounds and then combined into like a holistic answer. Again, it can be a lot nicer and like easier on your brain to just use a different tool that doesn't require so much like interpretive power. So go ahead and use the eye rolly trick if that works for you. It's a nice way to just sit in your body and you don't have to reach for anything. You don't have to like do any breath work. You don't have to set anything up. You don't have to get your blood moving. Just get into your body and let your body tell you what direction it wants to go, right? Okay, so we'll finally. Okay, so another method I like when it's like, what should I do? What should I do? Which option should I take? Is I think we all know about like the pros and cons list, and you just make a list of like, well, is it better or worse? And that it's hard to parse because things are more complicated than that. So what I like to do is actually set up like a separated pros and cons, or like as if it's on a scale. Um, just as an aside, I have Justice here because Justice is like the scales, but I also have Two of Pentacles because in this book, which is my go-to book, the New Tarot Handbook by Rachel Pollack, each of the major arcana cards has a little spread that goes with it. So for the Justice card, and all the cards have a little blurb, and then there's upright and a reverse delineation. And then there's like a spread given that looks like a scales for the Justice card. And when I did this, the top like fulcrum of the scale was the Two of Pentacles. And I was like, okay, like try to be more literal next time because the Two of Pentacles is balancing, right? So what you would do is you would take like, I last did this when I was working and I was like, hey, do I want to take the job offer of this other clinic? And so it was like, okay, what is positive about the clinic that I'm in? Okay, so I liked that I could do, oh my God, I'm writing sideways, paper charting. And like, so that also comes down to at the other clinic, I didn't like having to do e-charting, right? And I didn't like the pay, and I didn't like that I was responsible for like out of my pay taking my own taxes, whereas at this place the pay would have been about the same, but in that sameness also would have been wrapped up having taxes, and they would have paid into EI for me. So if I lost my job, I can go on EI, which is not a possibility for me right now. You split it up instead of just like, well, what are the pros and cons of that decision? What are the pros of not making the decision? What are the cons of not choosing that decision? What are the pros of making the decision? What are the cons of making the decision? And then what I discovered from doing this is that, how did I phrase it? Basically, like the good that this option would have been did not outweigh the bad. Like it wasn't a better option than it was a worse option, right? So anyway, I hope that hope that made any sense and offers anybody anything. I'm gonna go grocery shopping. Bye. Okay, thanks for watching. If you want to support me, there are links in the description. Bye.